So before I begin to discuss the individual texts, what I want to make clear is this is a lab report due based on an assignment, based on an experiment that the students used an entire semester to do. And there are no right answers. I don't know what the identifications of their bacteria actually are. I have an idea if they're in the correct ballpark, but I don't know whether the specific identity is correct. And so this is really an assignment about process. And so I need to see, as the students are writing, kind of what they're thinking, why they are making the conclusions that they're making. So I'm going to address the three papers, and I picked them because each one of them has a focus I'm going to focus on a different section in each one of them because I think that they serve as exemplars for that particular section. And I'm going to start with the paper entitled Normal Flora, which make up about, or sorry, the paper that begins Normal Flora, which make up about 90% of the cells of a human body. That's submission A. I selected this text because I really like the introduction. There are two parts to the introduction of this assignment. They need to talk about why identifying bacteria are good, and they need to talk about why indigenous flora are of interest. This paper, I thought, did the best job of synthesizing the two, addresses a little bit of each, lays a very clear groundwork for for what is to come in the paper, and I think that that's why I value this introduction. Again, the synthesis of those major ideas. You always have to be, what's the story I'm trying to tell, and am I introducing all facets of that story? One of the papers, I believe, submission B, in a scientific field with so much genetic variation and so on, really only addresses one of those, so you can see kind of a compare and contrast between those two. As to what I would want. I also like in submission A the fact that the author gives me the scope of the organisms that she might expect. So that's what I was looking for in that introduction. In submission B, which I've already mentioned, the one that begins in a scientific field, again, the introduction is perhaps a little bit short, but what I really like is the results section, and this author really nailed what I was looking for in the results by providing both tables or figures and text. Many students either give abbreviated text or omit text altogether, thinking that the tables speak for themselves, and they really don't. The tables and figures give me sort of the unadulterated result. The text tells me that the student is thinking correctly about those results or has reached the correct conclusion. For instance, just for example, if you look in Table 1 of Submission B, you scan down and you see blood auger hemolysis for organism 3. The table lists as beta. If you go to the text, you can see that the author explains that beta is a clear zone around the colony, and therefore I know that he has made that result, he has called that result correctly. And so by sort of doing this, by providing both the table and the text together, I can evaluate whether or not he is, or the author is correctly reaching the conclusion of what the unknown is. If he gets to an unknown result that I don't believe, I'm going to come back to this part of the paper and make sure that he's interpreting his results correctly. And so I thought that this paper did a very nice job of juxtaposing the text and the figures. The others are good as well, but they're not as in depth, and I don't think they do quite as tight a job as this author did. And then the third most important part of the three important parts of the paper, the third one is the discussion. And so submission C, which is many bacteria can be found in and on nearly all areas, the one that begins that way. There, I really like the discussion. And the discussion, what I like about the discussion is it refers back to the results in a concise manner, reminding me of what the results were, while sort of pushing it forward into that interpretive level. What do the results tell the author? And the author also provides dichotomous keys or decision trees, which I do not require, but basically this author said, what story am I trying to tell? How can I best clearly do that? And provided me the information. So even though it might not have been written into the assignment, you know, this author really kept in mind, how do I clarify to the audience what the story is that I'm trying to tell. And so I really liked that and appreciated that sort of added effort. And then I liked the fact that the author, once they made the identification in a very clear, organized manner, provided me some background on the organism in question to make it, you know, to make it more relevant to pathogenic micro or to the topic at hand. So I think that there are some general themes. You know, obviously these papers are very specific to this assignment, but I think there's some really general themes that can be taken out of this work and applied to any sort of lab report that you might be doing.